Sadguru Sharanam. Hello dears, how's it going? I hope all of you are doing this English challenge with full zeal and enthusiasm. Let me remind you one thing. If you really want to speak English fluently, there is no other way than practice. In this video, we are going to learn English through a moral story. So are you ready? If you are ready, let's get started. What does a moral story mean? It trains us how to handle our emotions, how to overcome fear, anxiety, depression, how to face competition, rejection. It instills into our minds the eternal values of love, happiness, devotion, humility, sympathy, kindness, etc. Moral stories play a very significant role in molding a healthy society. It's high time that we started inculcating these eternal values into the young minds, because that's a great service that we can do to our society. Contributing wise human beings to our society is the greatest of all services that we can do. I know that in today's busy life, we are not able to spend qualitative time with our children. So do one thing, request your parents, the grandparents, to make their retired life purposeful by molding the young generation. We always say that today's children are tomorrow's citizens. And where do these citizens live? They are in our homes. So in this context, let me quote my Guru, Navajyoti Sri Karunaguru Guru's words. Through character formation of children, a new generation will be emerged. For that to happen, let our homes get prepared first. So our home is the cradle of civilization, and child is the father of man, says Wordsworth. So before blaming the world, let's turn back and look into our homes. There lives the future generation. So with this message, let me start the story. The golden touch of Midas. Once upon a time, there was a Greek king, Midas. Once upon a time means at some time in the past. It's a traditional way of beginning a story. He was very rich and had lots of gold. He was a very rich person. That means he had enormous wealth. He had a daughter whom he loved a lot. So he had a daughter whom he loved a lot. Here, note the usage of whom, the relative pronoun. I have uploaded a complete video on relative pronouns, so please go and watch it. One day, in return to our favor, god Dionysus offered him a reward. In return means in exchange of. Here I am not going into the details of the story, just giving an outline, because our main purpose is to learn English. King Midas had helped one of the chief disciples of god Dionysus. In return to that favor means help, god Dionysus offered him a reward. Offer means to provide something, to agree to give something. Midas wished that everything he touched would turn into gold. So what did he wish? He wished that everything he touched should turn to gold. Look at his greed. He was already having enormous wealth. Still, he wanted more and more gold. The god tries to warn him and asks Midas, "Are you quite certain?" The god warned him, means gave him advice, alerted him. Are you quite certain? Certain means sure. Quite, Quite. What's the meaning of quite? Totally, completely sure about this. Midas replied that, "Definitely I want this gold touch." That was his reply. His wish was granted. His wish was granted means given, admitted, accepted. So what's the spelling of grant here? G-R-A-N-T. There is another word, G-R-A-N-D. The pronunciation is same but have different meanings. So such words are called homophones. So what's the meaning of grant? Grant means magnificent, imposing. That means really attractive, eye-catching. And look at the word G-R-A-N-T, grant. You have to note one thing here. G-R-A-N-T, grant, is not the past tense of G-R-A-N-D. G-R-A-N-D is a totally different word. It's an adjective. So it doesn't have a past tense or present tense or future tense. Only verbs have these three forms. And look at the word grant. The word grant is used both as a verb and as a noun. As a verb, grant is a present form and the past form is granted and the past participle form is granted. So grant, granted, granted. So grant means to give, to accept, to admit. The mayor granted my request. I cannot grant you this wish. So here it is used as verb. Now look at the meaning of the word grant as a noun. As a noun, it means sum of money given by an organization or by the government for a special purpose. We say research grant. It also means endowment, gift of money given by an organization. So his wish was granted. On his way home, he touched rocks and plants and they turned into gold. And he even turned trees into gold. But his day of gold-colored dreams came to an end at dinner time. At dinner, when he tried to eat something, when he tried to eat his bread, it suddenly turned to gold. He couldn't even drink his wine. In excitement, when he hugged his daughter, what happened? She turned into a gold statue. Midas was totally devastated. He had learned his lesson. Here, devastated means totally destroyed. Devastated has two meanings. The first meaning is completely destroyed. The other meaning is caused severe shock or grief. For example, the city was devastated by a huge earthquake. And the second meaning, she was devastated at the loss of her gold chain. Upon learning his lesson, he prayed to god Dionysus to take his gold touch away. And again, he was granted his wish. So what's the moral lesson that we learn from this story? Greed is not good for you. If you have enough food and money and dress, be content in that. You should prevent yourself from becoming greedy. Content means happy and satisfied. Before I conclude this video, let me remind you one thing. It's high time that we started inculcating these moral values in the mind of our young children. So what's the meaning of it's high time? It's high time means it's already late. It's high time is an idiom. Idioms are peculiar phrases used by the native speakers. The meaning of such idioms are totally different from the individual meanings of the words. If you want to speak like native speakers, you have to learn idioms. So it's high time means it's time to do something that should have been done a long ago. And you have to note the structure of sentence when using this idiom. It's like this. It's high time plus subject plus V2 plus object. This is the structure of using this idiom. For example, it's high time you cleaned your room. It's high time we discussed the problem. People have a tendency to use should with it's high time. That's wrong. We should not use should here. You can also frame sentences like this. It's high time to start cleaning the room. It's high time to discuss the problem. It's high time to narrate stories to children. What have you noticed here? The subject is not there. Here we are using to plus V1. To clean, to start, to inculcate. So after to we only use V1. And the very famous idiom, the Midas touch, comes from the Greek legend of King Midas, related in chapter 11 of Ovid's Metamorphosis. It's the ability to make money no matter what idea one tries. It's the ability to make everything in which you are involved in very successful. An actor, a businessman with a Midas touch. All his films are extremely profitable. He has the Midas touch. I wish all of you have the Midas touch in your task of learning to speak English fluently. Sadguru Sharanam.